My dear brothers and sisters, in the year 1900, there was a rebellion called Boxer Rebellion in China, in which the insurgents occupied a place of worship of Christians. They locked down all the doors, they closed all the doors, but kept open one small door. And they told the believers, you have to get out of this door if you want to save your lives. And then, right in the middle of the door, they put a cross flat on the ground, so that if these believers, if they wish to save their lives, they have to trample on the cross and get out of the place. And if they don't get out of the place, they will be shot. So they have only one way of escaping and save their lives, that is by exiting through the door, which demands that you trample on the cross and get out and save your lives, otherwise you will be shot. 7 young people, they trampled on the cross and then they went out of the place and saved their lives. And when it came to this number 8, the young lady, she refused to trample on the cross, even if it means that she will be shot. And she was in fact shot right there on the spot because she refused to trample on the cross. And after her, seeing her courage, other 92 young people, they were ready to face the gun than to trample on the cross and to protect their lives. This is what Jesus is warning us today. Know that the world hated me before it hates you. If the world is hating you, remember this, that it already hated me before you. So the path of believers is not a way of the roses, but it is a way of thorns and rocks. That's why Jesus is giving courage to his disciples, that if the world, not if the world in fact will persecute you. And what do we need to do when we face persecution? We need to look to Jesus and know that he was despised and he was hated before us. And when persecution and difficulties come on our way, we tend to abandon God and we tend to question God, why this is happening to me? Why not to others? Why only me? This is the question everyone asks God when we are under difficulty and trouble. And all of us know about the cricket player Yuvraj Singh. He was man of the tournament in one of the World Cups for India. And after he was declared the man of the World Cup tournament, after 10 months, he was struck with cancer. And he, being a very popular player, getting a lot of admiration from all over the world, he did not know how to react to this disease. Most of us will rebel against God, will lose our faith, or we react in a very negative way. But you know what Yuvraj Singh said? I will not ask God now, why me? Why the cancer has struck me? I will not ask God. Because in the world there are so many billions of people, and out of these billions of people, only a few people get to play for their country in the World Cup. And out of all these players, only one will be titled as the man of the tournament. And when I was declared the man of the tournament, I did not ask God, why me? When I receive good things from God, I will not ask God, why did you give to me only all these good things? So, when I don't ask God, why me, when I receive good things, I also would not ask God when bad things happen to me, why me? And this is a lesson, my dear brothers and sisters, that all of us should remember, that when persecution and bad things happen to us, let us not lose heart, because Jesus has warned us already in advance. And today, in this span of 3 verses, chapter 15, verses 18 to 21, 6 times Jesus is using the word world. You know, in St. John's Gospel, this particular word has different connotation depending on the context. For example, in chapter 3, 16, when we hear that God so loved the world, here the world means entire creation, including humanity and other creatures. But here, today in the Gospel, when Jesus is uttering the word world, here the world refers to the force that is against God, the force that is in enmity with God, the force that rebels against God. And that is denoted by the word world that is used in today's Gospel. And he uses it so many times. If the world hates you, remember that it hated me before you. If you were of the world. So like this, Jesus is using this word so many times to refer to the force that is against God. So whether we like it or not, we have to accept there are these 2 forces in the world. Force of God and the force that is against God. And we will be hated and persecuted sometimes by our own family members. All of you might have heard about Saint Thomas More. Saint Thomas More was born in 1477. He was a brilliant man, intellectual person, and he was a chancellor for King Henry VIII. Henry VIII was a Catholic king in England. But then Henry married a lady called Catherine, according to the Catholic tradition. But then he did not have any children with Catherine. So Henry wanted to marry another woman as a second marriage, so that he would have a son, and that son would be his successor. And if he does not have children, his empire will be ruled by somebody else. He did not want that, so he wanted to marry another time. And he did marry Anne Boleyn, another woman, and he did it against the Catholic Church, because Catholic Church does not permit, even if you are a king, to marry a second time. So Henry wanted to change the law, for which the Chancellor, St. Thomas More, had to sign, accepting that it is okay for the king to marry second time. And Thomas More said he will never do it, even if it means that he will be shot, or even if it means that he has to give up his life. So Henry VIII, the king, gave two options to St. Thomas More. Either you give your signature for this law, or you will be hanged. Thomas More was put in prison, and his daughter, Thomas More's daughter, came and visited him in the prison. And she said, "Daddy, just a signature and you will save your life. Even if you go against your conscience, just give your signature and you will be saved. Just do it." And then St. Thomas More wrote a letter to his daughter. I would like to read a part of this letter of St. Thomas More that he wrote to his daughter. And soon after this letter, St. Thomas More was hanged, beheaded on July 6, 1535. I want to read a portion of this letter which is very inspirational for us when we have to face problems or when we are persecuted for following our conscience and for following our faith. And this is what St. Thomas More wrote to his daughter. "By God, I cannot but trust in His merciful goodness. His grace has strengthened me until now and made me content to lose goods, land, and life as well, rather than to swear against my conscience." He says, God's grace has strengthened me to lose everything, to lose my property, to lose my land, to lose my goods, including my life, rather than to swear against my conscience. And this is God's grace given to me. "Therefore, my own daughter," he wrote a big letter, but I am reading only part of it. "Therefore, my own good daughter, do not let your mind be troubled over anything that shall happen to me in this world. Nothing can come but what God wills. And I am very sure that whatever that be, however bad it may seem, it shall indeed be the best. Even if it appears to be bad that is happening to me, still it is the best thing that will happen to me because it is God's will." Therefore, he says, "I am not troubled about what is happening to me in this world." And St. Thomas More, in a very heroic way, stood for his faith and stood not to go against his conscience, because he followed the words of Jesus in today's gospel. "If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you." Let us remember these words and pray for the courageous faith that makes us stand firm in times of adversity and persecution. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.